Boys, welcome back to the channel, and the Origin series is done and dusted. Queensland have been triumphant with a 20-14 victory. This is going to obviously be the discussion after the fact. A lot to talk about. Obviously, I'm very happy. It feels good, especially it feels very good as well, just for the fact of how many Queensland players have been out from this series, like how many would have walked straight into the team. All the BM from some of the Blues hierarchy saying it's the worst team in history. I mean, you know, what are they thinking? what are you thinking saying that type of stuff? It baffles me that that people in the New South Wales media talk like that. It's like, what are you doing? Do you want to lose a series? But let's get into the talk, because there's a lot of stuff I'm going to have a bit of a rant about here. And first thing, dude, I don't think I've ever been more frustrated and just losing my mind in that last 10 or so minutes at a team, obviously Queensland, when they were playing so well. Like, I was losing it. I cannot believe some of the stuff that a couple of players did, and Queensland was so good. We'll get into the more detailed discussion in a second here, but I gotta be honest again. Similar to the first game, but I actually think Queensland, and I was thinking Gus. I'm not copying Gus. I was thinking this the whole time, so don't. Gus said one sensible thing, and that was pretty much that Queensland played this game pretty much the full 80 minutes, barring probably like the last 5-10 minutes, but they played like this whole game like they did in the second half of Adelaide. They were incredible. Their forward pack absolutely dominated the Blues. And going into this game, I was very happy with our forward pack. And I mean, you throw in like David Fafita, Corey Horsburgh's in the wings, injured. Queensland have a bloody good pack, dude. It is quite formidable. So, yeah, Queensland's forward pack dominated. We dominated possession, dominated field territory, and the Blues just didn't really get to fire his shot. Now, the big talking point from this, obviously, James Tedesco, obviously suffering an accidental and a disappointing knee, which, I mean, I don't know if it was the knee, sort of the legs of Papali, whatever part of the leg. Obviously, terrible for Tedesco, terrible for the Blues, and obviously bad for the game. Although, as a Queenslander, it obviously helps. But you want to see Tedesco. He's one of the Blues that you don't mind watching, because he's not a grub, and he's a fantastic player. So without him, yeah, the Blues just didn't look dangerous at all. Let's be completely honest. They didn't have much possession, to their credit, but also when they did have the footy, the Queensland looked pretty much on top of most things they were throwing at them. Like, the first try to Tedesco was just a mockery. Just the drop footy, bloody Cherry Evans not grounded it. It was just absolute nonsense. It would have been a penalty anyway, but yeah, obviously the first try to Tedesco was a bit scrappy, and then they scored very late. So didn't offer too much since Tedesco went off. And one thing I want to mention as well, so obviously Jai Arrow is copying it. A lot of people are losing their minds at Arrow. Now, I didn't really notice it live. I don't know, I mustn't have been really watching the replay, but I saw it on Twitter, like a good view of it, and I'll say this, dude. Is it a grubby act? Yes. Like, I don't particularly like that sort of stuff. But, dude, people are losing their minds, and the hypocrisy is unreal. Like, Jai Arrow clearly didn't know Tedesco had been knocked out, right? Because Jai Arrow tackled him around the waist. Tedesco spills the ball. Jai Arrow, picks him up and slams him down a bit more. It wasn't it wasn't that crazy, give me a break. But obviously it was typified, and it was made a lot worse because Tedesco had already been knocked senseless by a knee, right? And as soon as Arrow realized that he'd been knocked out, like he was one of the first guys that was putting his hand up. It's not like he went on with it and like gave him a slap or something. And people in the comments were losing it. They were losing their mind, and they're the same people. They're the same people that carry on that the game has gone soft, that Origin's not what it used to be. And I'm not saying like what Jai Arrow did, like pushing someone on the ground or like picking them up or whatever. Like I don't that type of stuff, it doesn't really appeal to me. But that's the type of stuff people act like is not in the game anymore. Like, oh, you can't just punch someone. You can't do cheap shots and and whatnot. And I'm just thinking, like, all the times Addo Cartwright. And it happened in the game, in this very game. One of the tries that Valentine Holmes bombed, Cleary came across and, like, you know, bumped him. He obviously didn't hurt him or knock him out or anything, but Holmes is on the ground, and Addo Carr just, you know, comes in, shoves him in the back of the head, or, you know, in the top, just pushes him down on the ground. And obviously, you know, Holmes was obviously fine. It was nothing wrong with what Addo Carr did. But if Holmes had just, you know, freakishly just knocked his head or something and he was out, Addo Carr, he wouldn't have known in time. Like, he was shoving him on the ground. Like, would people have lost their minds over that? Probably. The hypocrisy is unreal. The heat of the moment, the fast-paced nature, he made the tackle, he got the ball spill. He was just so overexcited. But that's enough about that. Like I said, I people can have their own opinions. I know people are going to carry on. Like I said, I don't think it needs to be in the game, like that type of stuff. But some of the, like, people saying you should have been like sent off and what, I'm I was losing it. But regardless, let's get more into the contest here. So, yeah, Queensland were incredible, and I gotta be honest, the scoreline once again flattered the Blues. Like, the Queensland bombed so many tries. Yeah, the scoreline flattered them, and I don't know if it's gonna save Fittler, because Fittler again, just I think terrible selection. Picking 4 forwards on the bench just is such a stupid decision, especially when 3 of them are middle forwards. It's such a weird selection. I mean, sticking with Gutherson and Wyden in the centres. I mean, Fittler is an absolute farce, but the scoreline flatters them. They defended, they defended well, but geez, Queensland bombs some tries, and the culprit is Valentine Holmes. So let's talk about the players here. So Corey Allen, James Tedesco. Now, one of these guys, obviously we talked about Tedesco. Corey Allen had an absolute shocker, dude. I mean, we'll lump them in together here. Valentine Holmes, Corey Allen. Just, they oh my god, they played badly, dude. Corey Allen just, oh my sweet Jesus, dude. I think him and Holmes bombed 3 tries basically by himself, and Corey Allen bombed 1 try with a pass to Valentine Holmes. And I had to go back, because the first try that Holmes scored, I was like, was that seriously Allen that threw the pass? I mean, Allen came up with some nice touches. He carried the ball strongly, but his errors were terrible. He just didn't look comfortable, and he just had an off night. And that's the thing that's impressive about this performance, is that they pretty much did it without a fullback. Like, yeah, Corey Allen was really struggling, and the pass, like that try that, and I don't know, maybe Addo Carr would have got to Holmes, but I doubt it. I think Holmes probably would have been able to scoot down the sideline and score, but the pass from Allen, it actually baffles me that in the NRL, players can't pass both directions. If you watch the way he passed it, he did it like one-handed from right to left, and it's like he didn't know how to pass that way. I'm like, what are you doing? He just like flung it out there and just bombed it. And then Holmes, oh my. So Holmes started like absolutely on fire. And I guess this is Holmes in general. He can be a bit like this as well. But I mean, the first try he scored was an absolute peach. He carried the ball strongly. Honestly, some of his runs were just he was impressive. Him and Edric Lee, they were both very, very good coming out of our own end. I mean, compared to Daniel Tupou and Adokar, it was sort of roles reversed, dude. Last game, Tupou and Adokar dominated from the backfield, and obviously Xavier Coates and Philip Semi didn't really have much of an impact. This game, it was the complete opposite. Holmes and Edric Lee out of their own end were just causing all sorts of havoc around the ruck, and Tupou and Adokar just didn't have the same intensity, or I mean, they're just getting belted. I mean, the Blues, they were just getting absolutely monstered by the Queenslanders in defense. And again, you know, obviously the possession helps. Like, if a team has 60% possession for a good chunk of the game, like, you know, you're going to be able to keep that momentum up, and that's what Queensland did. So, full credit to them. But, Holmes just, I mean, dude. So, I'm saying he bombed 3 tries. Now, 2 of them were absolute gimmies. So, the first one that bounced to him, you know, obviously the bouncing ball is a little bit tricky, but it bounced straight up. Like, you gotta score that. You gotta score it. But that one, I can't let go, because obviously I think if they scored, like, I think, was that the one that was like literally a minute after the halftime break? I think it might have been. Or was it the one that Harry Grant busted through? I can't remember. I'm all mixed up because, I don't know, the game, usually like straight after the game, it's a bit of a blur. But I know one of them where he bombed was like literally after the break, and I was like, if he scores that, I actually think Queensland go on and absolutely belt the Blues here, because they were running ragged. But yeah, so that one, the one that was just absolutely atrocious was good work by Corey Allen. So I'm bagging out Allen, but he did a couple of nice things for sure. You know, not to be too harsh on him. I thought he had a shocker, but he did do a couple of nice plays. You know, he got through, got the beautiful offload, and Holmes, I'm pretty sure Holmes just thought Corey Allen was going to score, and he just wasn't paying attention. Like, he just wasn't watching. I'm pretty sure he just wasn't watching the play. He got the beautiful offload, and Holmes just dropped it. And that was the game. Like, that right there, if they score that one, New South Wales had no chance to even get a sniff back in this contest. And then it just went to absolute shit from there. The rest of that game was just, it was frustrating. And then the other one I'm saying he bombed was where Harry Grant got through, put the beautiful kick in, and then Holmes... I mean, obviously this one's a little bit harsh, but Holmes just kicked it dead, dude. I'm like, all he had to do was just get a little touch on it. If he doesn't score it, another Queenslander would have got to it. I'm like, he bombed 2 of them, and then that other one, the one where Harry Grant put the kick through. Obviously a little harsh, but just the game Valentine Holmes had, like, I'm classing that one as a bomb try as well. So again, this sort of reinforcing my fact that the Blues were lucky. I actually do think the Blues were lucky to be in this contest. Yeah, the scoreline of 20-14 just flatters them enormously, and it's sort of been a bit of a trend over the last couple of years. Obviously, you know, when you had Thurston, when you had Smith, when you had Cronk, it felt like when Queensland were on top, like, they would score big scores. Like, they would go on with it. But in this, you know, the last few years, obviously, when the Blues have been on top, the Blues have gone on and won some big score lines. But the Queenslanders, they've done this a few times where they just haven't been able to really finish off a game, or not finish it off, but they've just, I don't know. I don't know what it comes down to, but they haven't been able to put away the New South Wales team. And usually when they have been dominant, they have won the game, but they just haven't really put it to them. They haven't put it on the score line. So hopefully, you know, over the next couple of years, they can start finding that extra bit to, like, actually, you know, these dominant performances actually put it on the scoreboard. But again, credit to the Blues defense. Like, they showed up. The first half, obviously, they're under the pump. They came up with plenty of try savers, but yeah, Queensland should have gone on to win this game more comfortably. Going into the centers here, Gagai, Brenko Lee. I thought Gagai was once again fantastic. Didn't quite have his impact of the first 2 games, but just solid as a rock. Like, just every time he touches it, just dude, he's so good. That guy's just incredible, dude. Defensively strong, running the footy. I mean, he just causes all sorts of havoc. Just the breaking of tackles, offloading, just all sorts. Branko Lee, I was actually very, very impressed with. I thought he did a great job. Defensively, he was solid. I don't think the Blues really targeted him like they should have, because the first time they really got a chance with Tupou scoring, it was pretty bad defensive read by Branko Lee. I was watching it like, what are you doing? Why did you come in? But yeah, I mean, the Blues didn't really target him, honestly. And again, like their defense was good. Like the edges of him and Edric Lee, they kept putting pressure on, and that sort of really razzled the Blues. Like they just couldn't find a way to get around them for the majority. So Branko he was fantastic. Obviously, he went off late in the game with a little injury, but yeah, he was very good. I was very impressed, and the biggest thing I was impressed with was just his tough carries, dude. He made so much ground every time. Like, he's a big body, he's got good footwork, and he got the sets rolling every time. And his cousin Edric Lee was fantastic. Like I said in the preview, I think Edric Lee is a very, very underrated and very good winger. And a few people sort of were like, oh, not huge fans of him, but I do believe he's turned his like rocks and diamonds form around over the last couple of years, and I think he's turned into a really safe winger. Dangerous with ball in hand, he can do some freakish things, and defensively, he's actually very strong defensively, and he comes up with good reads. Like, he's very good at rushing. He's similar to, honestly, he's pretty similar to Addo Carr. He's got those big levers. He can just shut down the play, and I thought he did an excellent job. And then the flip side, Clint Gutherson, Jack 1. Gutherson obviously went back to fullback, and it's sort of, it's funny because obviously the stupid team that Fittler picked, like, it sort of worked out because with Tedesco going off, it meant Gutherson could just go back to fullback for his position. But, I thought Gutherson was fine. Like, he sort of played like he does for the Eels. Like, he always gets involved and does all the tough stuff. But, there's no real replacement for Tedesco other than probably Tom Trbojevic. So, yeah, it was always going to be a tough ask to fill. And then Jack 1, he was pretty solid as well. And obviously, and the funny thing is, again, like he actually went to 5'8" when Cody Walker unfortunately got knocked out late in the game. So that was fairly amusing that both their centers who were playing out of position ended up playing the positions that they are meant to play. So I don't know, a bit of a weird one there, but they were okay. Nothing too special. I think, again, just picking these two guys in the centers, it still baffles me. I just don't understand it, especially Gutherson. Jack 1, I think he can play in most positions and do a good job, but Gutherson in the centers just is such a foolish decision. I don't get it. I don't get it at all. Going on to the halves, Cameron Munster, dude. Cameron Munster was just unbelievable. He is... I keep saying it, but I'll say it again. Cameron Munster is far and away the best half in the game. Like, he is so far above any other half in the game. He like, another little talking point that I found funny was Phil Gould, right? So obviously when Tedesco got knocked out, Phil Gould wouldn't shut up about Tedesco being a massive loss, and he was. Like, out of any players, Tedesco is definitely the biggest loss for New South Wales. He has won them games over the last few years that none of their other players could have. So missing Tedesco is their biggest loss. But the week before, when Cameron Munster got knocked out in the first minute and he didn't come back, I think they might have said it maybe once or twice that, oh, this is a pretty big loss for Queensland. Yeah, no shit. No shit, dude. Cameron Munster missing that whole last game was as big, if not bigger, than Tedesco missing from this game. So I thought, Phil Gould carrying on like an absolute pork chop. Although, I guess in fairness, he didn't actually commentate the last game. So he might have carried on as well. But, Cameron Munster, I mean, Jesus Christ, he is just... He's unbelievable. And I'm going to call out Fatty Vorden as well. God, I cannot stand him. I actually think Vorden is the worst out of all the commentators. Like, the try that Munster set up, that little kick he put in behind, Vorden was carrying on that I don't actually think he meant to do that. It was a missed kick, but then obviously on the back of it, he's done something freakish. I'm like, he definitely meant to kick it in behind the fucking winger, you absolute idiot. Oh my god, dude. This video is going to be all over the shop, but what is wrong with him? Like, what is he watching? But regardless, Munster just pulls off freakish things. I mean, the one-on-one steal he pulled off. His defense is extremely strong. And that's another thing. Like, last game, the Blues dominated. Don't get me wrong. But again, like, I wasn't that concerned. Like I say every time, I'm always worried going into an Origin game, no matter what it is. But I wasn't necessarily concerned after last week because Munster wasn't there, and Ben Hunt defensively was awful. Like, put Cameron Munster instead of Ben Hunt, and people sort of forget about his defensive aspects. Like, obviously running the footy and everything else is incredible, but his defensive work is so strong. Like, he doesn't miss tackles, and he just reads the game so well. He knows when to rush up, he knows when to stay back. And Ben Hunt just didn't have any of that last game. Cherry Evans was solid. I thought Cherry Evans was pretty good. Nothing too outstanding, but having Munster in the team just lets Cherry Evans just steer the ship and just let Munster do his thing, and they work well. They work really well together. On the flip side, I thought Cody Walker was... I mean... both halves. Like, I know Nathan Cleary is going to cop it. Because people are going to carry on that any big games, Cleary always fails to turn up. But I actually thought Cleary was pretty good. Again, like, they didn't have any possession. Their forwards were getting monstered. But I mean, Cleary came up with a huge 40-20 early in the game. I thought his kicking game was pretty solid. Took the line on like he did last week, but just... they were getting dominated. So I think the criticism that'll be laid at Cleary is a little bit unjust. I thought him and Walker were decent with the game, without sort of... I guess that's the biggest thing though, right? Because the Blues were... And this is the thing with the Blues, when they've been behind or they're just not getting the running that they do, they just can't really seem to find a way to get out of it. Whereas I feel like Queensland can change the momentum. I feel like New South Wales just can't really get out of it unless it's a Tedesco or like a Tom Trbojevic or potentially a Damien Cook doing some sort of solo brilliance. If it's down to the halves, like at times, they just they can't really change the rhythm of the game. But yeah, I didn't think they were terrible, like people may say. The forward pack. So this video's going on forever, dude. It's just rambling on about nonsense for the good half of it. But the forward pack, this is where it's shone, and we haven't even got to the best player yet. But Christian Welsh, Josh Papali, geez, they were strong. I mean, Papali, he was solid in the first two games, but the third game here, Papali was massive. Like, it looked bad. Like, it was like 18-20 minutes into the game, and Papali was down. I thought he'd like done something to his leg, and he signaled to come off, and he did go off for like a couple of minutes, but he came back on pretty quickly, and he played huge minutes. And he was, Papali just absolutely stood up when needed, and just played it extremely well. Christian Welsh, again, he was a massive loss for last game. I still think he's one of the best front rowers going around. And he stood up. He stood up to the big boys in New South Wales. And yeah, these two guys were very, very good. Daniel Saifidi, Payne Haas, I thought were pretty average. You know, I didn't think they really did too much, honestly. I thought out of probably both of them, Saifidi was probably the stronger one again. But yeah, I thought the Queensland starting to just really dominated the Blues starting props. So yeah, Jake Friend, Damien Cook. Yeah, I mean, I thought Jake Friend played like he does. I thought he was solid. But yeah, I think I think Friend might be struggling to get a start next year. Let's just say that. You know, Friend's as tough as they come, but he just doesn't have that spark, and he just, he does all the tough stuff, which you want to see. And actually, I probably take that back a little bit, because actually Jake Friend, when Harry Grant was on the field, he took a lot of carries, and he actually made some good ground and some tough runs. So I was impressed with Jake Friend for Game 3. Damien Cook, yeah, again, he just didn't really have the go forward, and when Cook doesn't have a role on, he's just not really a factor in the game, and it's not really a slide on Cook. I mean, that's how it is for most dummy halves. If your forwards aren't going forward, you're not getting quick play the balls. He's not going to be able to get out and really dictate terms. So that's what happened, and Damien Cook just didn't really get into the game like the Blues would have wanted to. The back row, Kurt Capewell was sensational. I mean, playing his preferred position, and like I said, the forward pack for Queensland, geez, it's good. It's really, really good. Felice Kafusi, again, Kafusi is such an underrated player. He never gets talked up by basically anyone in the commentary box. He does all the tough stuff. He's always the one leading the defensive line. He plays the full 80 minutes. He's putting pressure on the kicker constantly. He's taking tough runs. Yeah, Kafusi is just absolute animal, dude. And then Big Tino. Oh, geez. Tino was... Once again, he was great. I thought he was fantastic last game in a well-beaten side. I thought he was easily our best player, and this game he was great again. And the battle, so to speak, between Payne Haas and Tino. I mean, honestly, Tino's a better player than Payne Haas. So the nonsense that Payne Haas was spewing last week, it makes me pretty happy to watch this game and just see Big Tino play exceptional and Payne Haas just go missing, basically. So that felt good. Angus Crichton was pretty solid without being exceptional. Tyson Frizzell, honestly, this was a sort of a game that Frizzell basically went missing like he can. He played very well in Game 2, didn't play that well in Game 1, and Game 3 just didn't really do too much either. And then Jake Trbojevic, sort of likewise. I mean, all the Blues, I'm biased, but I just think Queensland just dominated the Blues pack. It's sort of hard to really judge the Blues forwards, because they were getting rocked, dude. They were getting bombarded by the Queenslanders. And then the bench. So Jaden Sewer, dude, I was losing it. And it was tough because the back row of Tino, Kafusi, Capewell playing big minutes and playing so well, it was tough for Sewer to get on the field, but I was losing it. I wanted to see Sewer get out there and rattle some blokes, dude. And when he got out there, he looked really sharp. He's got good footwork, but yeah, he just didn't get the game time I was hoping for. But just sort of the way everything worked with how well the next guy, Harry Grant. I mean, Harry Grant, was he the best player? I mean, he's up there. It was either him or Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith. Either him or Cameron Munster. And it's so hard to go past Munster. I mean, Munster played the full 80 and was non-stop the whole time. But Harry Grant, dude, oh my, what a player. He is something else. I've ever seen a young dummy half come in and have such an impact. And I guess you would go back to, like they say in Cameron Smith, but honestly, I don't remember really Cameron Smith's debut, so I can't really judge. But Harry Grant, like playing for the Tigers, like a pretty weak Tigers team, he was leading the Dally M. He was he? He was up there anyway. And he was like the best player in the comp, playing for this Tigers team. He comes into Origin and he just runs through them. Harry Grant is just an absolute gun. And I'm sorry to the Blues, because now you've got to contend with this kid who's going to play the next decade. And I mean, you know, it's like a lot of young kids coming through, they get raps and you're sort of like, yeah, wait till they actually do something. But Harry Grant is a guy that you just know he's going to be the star for Queensland, and I would say Australia. Like, honestly, Harry Grant better than Damien Cook? I would say yes. I would say 100% yes, dude. It's probably a little bit harsh on Damien Cook, but I think Harry Grant's got more potential than Cook, in all honesty. You know, again, being harsh on Cook, but what a player. Oh my goodness. He's something else. Lindsay Collins had a game to remember, dude. And it was sort of, I mean, again, he was great in game 1, game 2, Queensland got dominated, and then game 3, the Blues just didn't come out like they should. And I don't know, like, is it because they're in Queensland? Is it because of the fans? Is it because Queensland just play better in Queensland? I don't know, dude. I just didn't feel the intensity of New South Wales like I did in game 2. And Lindsay Collins was a great example, because in game 2 he sort of got, you know, he got dominated. In game 3, this game, he was on fire. And then Jai Arrow, we spoke a bit about him before with the controversy, but just on a gameplay sense, he was once again fantastic. Just incredibly strong off the bench. Defensively, as good a defensive player as you'll ever see. His runs always damaging. Good offloading. Yeah, our bench was something else. And then you look at the Blues bench. Finucane, I didn't really notice too much. Junior Paulo, I thought was good. Nathan Brown, again, he didn't really get many minutes again. I don't really understand. This is the thing that I don't get with Fittler. Like, why? I just don't get, why would you play 4 forwards on the bench to start, but 3 of the middles, and then one of them in Nathan Brown, you barely play for any minutes? Like, why would you not play Pappenhausen in that 14 jersey, or someone else, another utility player? But I mean, probably Pappenhausen deserved it, but it didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense, because again, Brown barely played minutes. He didn't really have an impact whatsoever. And then Isaiah Yeo, I like Isaiah Yeo on the bench because he does add a little bit of versatility, but he obviously had to come on and play in the centers, and I mean, he did his job, but without being anything too special. So yeah, a good win for the Queenslanders. I mean, getting back to the point, I still think that New South Wales got fortunate with the scoreline. I thought this game could have blown out, not necessarily blown out, but Queensland definitely could have put this game to bed a lot earlier than what they did. They would have saved me a lot of heartache and frustration, but they kept the game tense, dude. And I guess the other thing did I mention about the Addo Carr thing? I don't think I did. I know that there's more controversy. I know there's so many people acting like the refs lost the Blues the game, or they won Queensland the game. And I'm just like, what game were you watching? Like, Queensland was so far better than the Blues that how can you possibly think that the ref won Queensland this game, dude? I am gobsmacked. But the Josh Addo Carr incident, so he clearly got taken out, right? He clearly got taken out. I got no issue with that. And that's another thing with Corey Allen I forgot to mention. That play, I was about to just lose my mind. Like, what was Corey Allen doing at fullback? They run the ball on last tackle. They shift it out to the right. It goes into the hands of Isaiah Yeo. And Allen, as a fullback, he's clearly going to either kick it like in behind or down the sideline there, or he's going to run it. So as the fullback, why the hell was Allen not anywhere near the play? Like I was like screaming, where the fuck is Corey Allen? Like that shouldn't have resulted in that. And I was yeah, like I said, I was gonna lose my mind. I don't know what Allen was doing. I don't know if he was just having a snooze and in goal. I don't know, dude. I don't know. But no awareness. So that was the other reason I was saying Corey Allen had such a bad game. But getting back to the main issue, so he clearly took Josh Adokar out, right? But it was so there's a few factors. One, Adokar kicks it. It was probably like 10 meters out. Cameron Munster was basically in line. I know you could argue that he was slightly ahead of Cameron Munster, but they were basically in line, right? And Cameron Munster had full momentum, right? So he wasn't like from a standstill turning around. They were both running. And, you know, if best case scenario for the Blues, right? If Corey Allen didn't take Adokar out, there still would have been a little bit of collision. Corey Allen definitely would have collided with Adokar a little bit, right? Not taken him out, but there would have been a little bit of shoulder contact, which would have slowed Adokar down. So you can't fucking argue that Adokar, he's the quickest man in the world, he's the quickest man in the game, he would have got there easily. Like, there would have been some sort of collision, some sort of contact to slow him. But on top of all that, you cannot you cannot say that's a penalty try when he's 10 meters away from the try line and he's kicked the ball through. There is no way. And there's Queensland players in the vicinity. Like, that is not a penalty try by any means. And I mean, Corey Allen got sent to the bin, which was definitely the fair decision. So the Blues had ample opportunity to score a try with Queensland being a man down in the sin bin. Like, New South Wales acting like they got robbed a victory by that not being a penalty try. It's like, what are you talking about? You got to play a sin bin. You had a full set of 6 with a man down. Like, you could have scored. You could have scored still. But yeah, it was definitely not a penalty try. I don't care what anyone says. I mean, Gus carrying on that just because he's so quick that you got to give it a penalty try. I mean, it's just nonsense. Like, it's just not a penalty try. Like, can you imagine if they gave that a penalty try? Like, I was actually worried for like a split second. I'm like, are they actually going to give this a penalty try? But can you imagine if they did? Like, how many times in a game has a player kicked the ball through, like a little grubber gone through, that, like, the half or whatever, he's going to win the race for the ball. Like, you could argue pretty much every time that happens and the half or the fullback, whoever it is, kicks the ball through about 10 meters out, they're chasing through, they get taken out, and they're probably going to win the race for the ball. Like, there's no one's going to turn and chase. The fullback might be a little bit closer, but there's so many times you're in a game that happens, and just be like, oh man, I was just, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. Do you think that should have been a penalty try? And I mean, obviously I'm biased. I'm a Queenslander. Some people are going to be biased because they're New South Wales. But I mean, I guess try to look at it both ways. But, you know, I guess if you think it should have been a penalty try, let me know. But I personally don't think so. Regardless, this video has gone on for an absolute age, like 40 minutes. So that'll wrap it up, I think. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this really long goddamn video. Make sure to like and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one.